Joining me now, Joe Kizis, the CEO of EQTY Metals. Always good to see you.
Good to see you again, Mark.
Let's talk Silver Queen. You had initial assay results come out a while ago, and the focus is at Vein 3 at Camp North. And Robert McDonald, your VP of Exploration, we talked to him earlier. He said there was strong continuity. So can you give us some highlights? And
Sure. Yeah. A month ago, we gave the first results from the north end of the number 3 vein. The number 3 vein is the majority of the resource right now. It's about 65% of it, I guess. There are other areas like the camp that's pretty exciting. So we just announced last week the next batch of samples, and they were similar to the first batch of samples from the north end of number 3. So it's encouraging on our end. We thought that was a part of the deposit that historically there'd been some shallow drilling, and it's kind of hit or miss, and we thought there should be some better continuity there. And so we've had some pretty good results from that. But really, last year, 2024 was the year when we transitioned a little bit from drilling on the majority of the resources. We still had a few little bits and pieces that we had to do infill drilling, and we were happy to see that those projections were correct. But we were also looking for the next place we could find the new deposit, right? So we did some drilling on our George Lake target, and that's turned out quite well. Now, one of the reasons that's exciting is in a small vein deposit or a narrow vein deposit, you need a lot of working faces. And the historic mining actually intersected sort of the top of the mineralization we're outlining in the George Lake. So we're pretty excited about that because that gives us another place that we could dewater and potentially get, fairly inexpensive access into another working area of working faces, right? We did some additional drilling on a few other targets. This year, we decided to focus on the number 3 north, just because, there's the majority of the resource, and it still looked open-ended. In fact, the early drilling was done so long ago, they were really not interested in gold, so they didn't even assay for gold in that case. As it turns out, there's a fair bump in copper and gold in that part of the deposit, so we're excited about that. We did do a couple of wildcat holes. One we did on what we call the North Camp target, and one of those holes hit a very nice looking vein. A little bit narrow right now, but it's out in the middle of basically ground that's doesn't have any veins exposed, so it's a blind discovery.
Yep.
We don't have sites permitted to test that yet, so we're in the process of getting those areas permitted. So we're excited about last year.
Sounds like it.
We're building that resource.
And so the next logical step, as you alluded to, is to you continually want to grow the resource, but the next step is what you've been talking about, the plans for the
yes, that's right. We're looking at kind of modeling up things right now and deciding whether sometime in 2025 we want to do a PEA, or another preliminary economic evaluation,
right.
Do an update on the resource, and so we're in the process of kind of building towards that updated resource and then a PEA. And maybe that's not all done in 2025, but we're working towards that.
Okay. Now, something else the company's done is that you bought this Arlington gold property in south central BC. It's near a couple of prolific historic mines as well. So what was the thinking there?
Yeah, well, that one was it's a project that we were aware of, and we kind of liked it. I was a little hesitant to think about getting another project to maybe divert our attention, but this is really such a good, easy target. I did a field exam, late last year, and it was pretty interesting because there was a beautiful soil anomaly. I didn't quite know what to make of it, but we were aware that this is a pretty interesting part of the world and an interesting target. They peeled away some of the dirt, and there was a vein that was just solid arsenopyrite with, well, we don't have the assays back yet, but that's right where it's 1 gram gold in the soil. So that's a really high gold anomaly. Nice. So it's a big area. It looks like mineralization is going to be pretty shallow, so it's a pretty cheap test, really, and that could really add some generate some excitement to the company, and whether we, aggressively pursue it, we'll see what the results look like, right?
All right, very good. So, Joe, we know that the silver is in the low 30s, seems to be comfortable in this range here for now. The stock of Equity Metals is up about 77% year over year. I don't need to tell you that, so that's impressive. So, wrap it up with a bow for us, if you could, just the pitch to investors as to why they need to pay attention.
Yeah. Well, that was really a year ago. It was about the low part of our cycle of gold, price.
Yeah.
And it's been rising ever since, in part, kind of catching up to the norm and then exceeding it as we started reporting some decent results from some of the new areas. And I think, that was maybe the concern, maybe is this all we get, with the resource we had developed? It's, I think in terms of gold equivalent, we were about 1 million ounces. Probably need more than that, especially for a narrow polymetallic vein. And, as we started showing that some of these other veins are going to add to the resource base, maybe some of those, concerns were alleviated. That, we can build this forward.
Right.
Our thought is that this is the top of a porphyry-related system. And the reason that that's exciting is because that's a big area that generates a lot of fluid. And when you get grade in the veins like we're seeing so far, there's probably going to be other veins that haven't come to the surface. So blind veins, the fact that there are going to be a lot of them, that gives us encouragement that we can build a mine here.
All right, good update. Thanks, Joe.
All right,
Good
thanks
stuff.
again.
Joe Kizis, he is the president of Equity Metals.